actually in the back row. Okay. Well, let's get going. Good morning. This is Domino two-factor authentication. My name is Martin Leider, in case you don't know me yet. I'm doing this Domino stuff since 1994, so for a long time. I also do connections. At the same time, I'm with the HL Services Organization. And in a little spare time my manager gives me, I also play around with the Linux command line, and I collect old computers. So if, in case you have an X-Cube lying around in your cellar and you don't want it anymore, reach out to me. I would be very happy to take it off your hands. Over here we have, this is me obviously. I'm not so long in the Domino business. This book changed my life basically. I'm a father of one. And this is where you can find me fishing. Right, so what are we going to talk about? We're talking about why you want to enable two-factor authentication or TOTP time-based. We will get to that, what it means. We have the wording, exactly what I was referring to. So to know that the proper terms and what they mean is always important before you start implementing. This is way too small. How does it work? No, it's good, Milan. Keep it. How does it work? Actually, that's what you're here for. Prerequisites, yes, always before you start, check that you have everything in place so that if you implement it, that it actually works, not any surprises hit you. The setup, how it actually you set it up, how you set it up for Traveler, how you set up what? The user workflow. How the user workflow. So if you set it up, if it works, how does it feedback to the user? What are pitfalls? What you should look out for? How you should train your users? You should always train your users, but in this particular case, for the administrator, tips and tricks, what to look out for, how to verify that everything you did actually is according to documentation. No, it's according to how it should work, not according to documentation. Sorry. Troubleshooting tips, and of course, if we have time, hopefully, Q&A. Milan.
Thank you. So, what was the motivation for this session? We see way too many customer environments which are using only basic authentication. And according to the SANS Software Security Institute, the three most common vulnerabilities in any environment are compromised email accounts by using big passwords and basic authentication, legacy protocols like SMTP, which basically just don't support MFA, and reusing old and big passwords, which can be found in password databases on the internet. All of that can be mitigated by using MFA. So, what I thought, why are not so many people using it? Well, it's clearly it's really important. So I found a really interesting statistic at statista.com. It's created by us, made by a survey in the UK. And if you take a look, roughly 50% of the people say they don't know how to configure MFA, and or that it's too complicated for them. And around 13% says it conflicts with the productivity. So, 18 and 50, roughly 30% do not understand the security risks. So now we know what are the security risks. We're going to tell you how to do it, so it's not really all that difficult, and that it rather does not conflict with the productivity.
If you do it right.
If you do it right, yes.
So, let's talk about multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is something you basically use, maybe not every day, but at least, I would assume at least once a week. If you use your bank card, your ATM card, you're using multi-factor authentication. It's something you have, your bank card, and it's something, the second factor is something you know, the PIN to your bank card. So you're already using two-factor authentication in everyday life. The same goes for the Domino administrators in the room. If you have an ID file that requires 2 passwords, that's already 2 factors, right? So multi-factor authentication is something you know, something you have, something you possess, something, just multiple factors. So in case you lose one factor, in case your password got intercepted, your password got compromised, if you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah? The usual standard password or start or something like that. If you have that and it get lost or it get leaked, you still have a second factor that protects your account, your identity. Also, this is only about authentication, so this is basically to verify to the system who you are. It's not about access control lists, it's not about getting access to systems, it's about proving who you are. So, as I said before, this is multi-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is a special case of multi-factor authentication, as the name says, two factors. And the thing we talk about usually in this environment, so you could have a FIDO2 YubiKey, for example, that could be a second factor, or a smart card, or something else. In our case, what we are talking about is TOTP, time-based one-time passwords. TOTP, time-based one-time passwords, yeah. That is our second factor. So you still have your username, you still have your password, and you add the second factor, which is this thingy. Basically what it does is the client and the server share a secret. So once you have to set it up, this is what we'll show you later on with the user workflow. The server and the client exchange a shared secret. For each client, for each device, you get a new secret. And based on that secret and the current time, a one-time password gets generated on the client and on the server. The client sends it to the server. The server compares it. If they match, the second factor is acknowledged and is accepted. The thing here is all the factors have to match. So if you mistype your password, but the TOTP one-time password is correct, you still do not get access. If the TOTP is correct, but your password is wrong, you do not get access. You have to get both things right in order to get access to the system. So I already talked about the server. So the server basically has to have a TOTP setup. We'll show you how to do that with Domino. One thing, and we will cover this in the prerequisites as well, again, you have to have the correct current time on that server. So if you don't know anything about time servers and how to synchronize times on your machines, do read up on that and set it up. It will save you a lot of troubleshooting. There are ways around it to have a little bit of a skew, but that's another topic later on. So the authentication of the verifier, and of course we have a TOTP authenticator or approver. This is not your login formula. Not 8 o'clock in the morning. I hate Theo. No, I love him, but 8 o'clock. We have a TOTP authenticator approver. This is the app that creates your TOTP, your time-based one-time password. If you remember the older guys or girls in the room, you might remember the RSA tokens, the small hardware devices. This is similar. These are basically applications. These are applications that generate that TOTP, which you can then type into your login form or copy and paste into your login form. The thing here is, the TOTP mechanism is specified in an RFC, which I don't know on top of my head, and we'll probably have in one of our slides. 6238, thank you, Milan. 6238. So any application that adheres to that standard can be used for TOTP with Domino. So you're not bound to Google Authenticator, you're not bound to Microsoft Authenticator. You can use Authy or any of the other 200 applications that are on the Google or Apple store to use this. I mean, Microsoft Authenticator actually doesn't adhere to all the standards, of course, as always, but it works in our case. Another thing is, so you need your phone. Usually you have that app on your phone. So you need your phone, and what happens if your phone gets stolen? For that, we have something called scratch codes. Scratch codes are one-time pins, 8 16 digits long, that you can use one time and one time only to log in. So you get like 8 or 16 of these scratch codes. And if you lose your password, or if you forgot your phone at home, you can use that to log in one time. Once you used one of those codes, it gets deleted from the system and you can't reuse it. So this is basically a fallback for, you all know them stupid users that forgot their phone or can't remember how to operate those phones.
Yeah, and where do they keep those numbers?
Where do they keep those numbers? They should keep them safe. Preferably, the recommendation would be to keep them in a password safe or in a password application, management application. These are the scratch codes. As you can see, this is already from Domino on how this is presented in Domino. Milan.
Yeah, now I will explain you the basic work of how it works. This is really the basics and not everything what is specified in the official RFC. So, as my colleague said, it's based on the RFC 6238. You can look it up on the internet and look into the specifics. And as Martin said, we have a prover. That's basically the application which shows the TOTP token on a mobile device to a user. We have a verifier. That is the authentication server. It checks if the TOTP token is valid. Then we have a shared secret. Shared secret is shared between the server and the device, or just a means to create a shared secret. Shared secret is used to create the TOTP token. Then we have the moving factor, which is really important. It's based on time in the TOTP implementation. And the timestamp. Timestamp actually tells you for how long a TOTP token is valid. That's usually 30 seconds and can be from anything from 15 to 60 seconds. Let me show you the flow. So what happens when a user wants to configure a prover? So he will open his application, navigate to the web browser and enter his credential and says, basically I want to configure MFA. So the web server sends that information back to the ID vault. And the ID vault creates a shared secret, which then in turn is sent to the web server, which then shows that to the user and the prover application. Now when that happens, MFA for that user is configured, the whole user configuration data is saved in the ID vault. And when the user wants to authenticate later on, he also goes to his web server, enters his credentials, looks up the TOTP token from his prover application, and the web server sends that information back to the ID vault. And if the information is correct, the TOTP is verified, then it will report a success, and the user will gain access to the web server. And that's basically it.
And maybe what we should mention also is the shared secret that gets presented to the user. That's the barcode they scan. That's usually the shared secret.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. We shouldn't click at the same time. That's probably better. Yeah. So the prerequisites. What do you need in order to get this working? This is why you're here. First of all, nothing to do with Domino. You need proper time on the server, and I can't stress this enough. If you do not have proper time on your server, you will fail, you will have pain, you will need alcohol. So, I mean, alcohol is drugs, whatever, but please, if you're on Windows, use the Windows Time Services. If you're on Linux, use NTP or one of the more secure modern versions of that. Make sure that your server has the correct time. DNS, yes, it's 2022, we're in the 21st century, but still, you need proper working DNS setup. Name lookups should work. WINS is not an option in 2022. Yeah? Those who still can remember that. You need proper host names, you need proper names with host name, domain name, .com, .org, .at, .de, whatever. Proper DNS, not hosts entries. You can fiddle around a little bit with hosts entries, but you do want DNS, proper DNS entries. Please. Save yourself a lot of hassle. You need a public TLS certificate. Again, this is 2022. We do not do HTTP. Everything related, at least everything related to authentication should be HTTPS. Let's Encrypt makes it very, very simple for you to get a certificate for free. Not free, free. And the times are over where you need a 3-month workflow to order a TLS certificate from some company. It's not used anymore. Use it. Use Let's Encrypt. There's an awesome. What's it called in Domino? The certificate manager. If you haven't looked at it, take a look at it. It's really good. It works quite well. What you also need, and this is sometimes a surprise to our customers, you need an ID vault. We introduced this back in 8.5 or 8.0. You should have an ID vault. If you do not have an ID vault, please reach out to us from services. We will help you get it set up. If you're afraid of it, there's nothing to be afraid of it. It's awesome. It's an awesome tool. It helps you a lot in your daily operations. You can save a lot of time with it. If you're still saving ID files on a network share, please, for the sake of everything that is holy to you, switch over to ID Vault. Yes, there were a few issues with ID Vault. We improved a lot on our ID Vault as HCL. You want ID Vault on a Domino 12 server with a Domino 12 template for ID Vault. If you don't have that, that's your first step, upgrade to Domino 12, at least on the ID Vault server, and update the template for the ID Vault. What's here? Yeah, certifier ID file. Hopefully you know where your certifier ID is, and hopefully you know the password to that certifier ID file. If not, you're in a whole world of pain, and I'm very sorry we can't really help you there. The only way to find out the password is that you brute force it. Amazon has a nice $20 option for a Tesla parallel machine that will help you crack this. But you need the certifier ID file, and for the initial setup of the TOTP configuration, you need that certifier ID file in the data directory of your Domino server where you set this up. Once you've set it up, you can remove it again, but during the setup, you need it in the data directory, right?
But it's not best practice to have.
It's not best practice to have the certifier ID file in the data directory, but for the setup, you need it. That's why I said hopefully you know where it is, because usually it's not in the data directory. Shouldn't be. Right practice. I said it before. You need Domino 12 at least on the ID Vault server. If you want to use our nice templates for the login forms, etc., you should have Domino 12 on all your servers by now. It's out there long enough. If not, and you need help, reach out to us. We are ready to help you there. Okay, so let's get to the interesting part, and then Carol will shut up.
Okay, I will tell you how to set that up for Domino. So we have basically 4 basic steps. First, we will create an MFA certificate. Then we will do some TOTP specific configuration, and after that we will enable the TOTP login form, and then restart all components that
that's the really hard part. Restarting Domino.
Yeah. Pulling the cable.
Yeah. Both cables. Exactly.
So creating an MFA trust certificate is really simple. You need only one command for that. No need to memorize that. We'll give you the slides later. So you basically go to the server console, enter the command, and make sure that the MFA trust certificate is created successfully. One more thing, you have to specify your top level certifier in this command.
This is why you need the cert ID.
Yeah. This is a step where you need it. After that, you can take it out from the data directory, move it somewhere safe. Delete it. Yes.
No.
Well, let's have some fun. So, then we will check if the MFA certificate is created. For that, just go to the Domino directory and certificates view. You should see it there. One more thing we can check is with the show ID vault command. Enter that command, and it should tell you if it trusts the organization for multi-factor authentication.
So basically, the MFA certificate we create here is used to access the ID vault in a secure manner. So that's basically why we have to create that.
Exactly. Thank you. So after the certificate is created, we will do some TOTP configuration. For that, go to the server configuration document, to the security register, and enable TOTP. There are a few more settings we can do here. So we can specify if we want to send the scratch codes to the user, if we want to create them and show it to the user, if we want to send an email with the scratch codes to the users, and we can specify how many shared secrets a user can create. And that's basically the number of prover devices that the user can configure.
So let me expand on that a little bit because we haven't covered this yet. The end user can have more than one approver applications. So they can have their TOTP set up on multiple devices, on a tablet and a smartphone. And for each device, they get a separate shared secret with the server. But they can use multiple devices. So if they leave their phone at home and they still have their tablet, they can still log in. So you're not restricted to one device unless you put in one in here. Right?
So the scratch-codes are working on every device? Or?
Yes. Yeah.
So you don't get scratch codes for each device?
Only the scratch codes are generated once, but the shared secret is get generated for each device you want to log in. And then administrator, you can limit the number of devices and user can use for TOTP.
Exactly.
But you could use the same shared secret on
It's not recommended. You do not want the same shared secret on different devices.
I guess you can revoke the devices, and in this case you would revoke all your devices.
We will get to that in a second.
But you can't use one shared secret on more devices, except I think if you create your own TOTP algorithm. So the protocol does not allow it, let's say it like that. Does not.
But nothing prohibits you from taking two smartphones and taking the same taking a picture of the same button. But we shouldn't.
That's right.
So sorry, Milan, carry on.
No issue. We can specify the encryption algorithm. This is the default one, and
keep it at that.
Yeah, no need to change that. You can specify the issuer. This is basically only the information the user will see on a approval device, because he can have more than one configuration. So I recommend entering here something sensible, like the name of your organization, for example. And we also recommend you to use, for internet password verification, check internet password in Vault. And if you can't do that, then the next best thing would be check Vault first and directory. If you use check internet password in a directory, then you might run into some problems. Now we're finished with the configuration document. We'll go to the website document. Open the website document for the specific server and go to the Domino web engine. As TOTP does not support basic authentication, you will have to use here multiple servers or single server authentication, which we don't recommend. For that, you will need a valid LTPA token. And yes, exactly.
And from a security perspective, you should have force login on TLS enabled. If you don't have that, even if you don't configure TOTP, set that flag, please.
Yeah, that's really.
Otherwise, any penetration test will have a report line for you.
Exactly.
Sorry,
After that, we switch to the configuration register, still in the website document. And there we need to add some additional methods like delete and put. And here we will also enable TOTP service.
So you really have to scroll down.
Yeah. And the guys in the back, this is just an enlarged screenshot. And still, while in the website document, we will go to security and enable TOTP. And from that on...
Oh, Milan, there's an error in your configuration. You should also have redirect TCP to TLS enabled. So if someone comes in on HTTP, he or she gets redirected to HTTPS. You want that enabled. Yeah. As we said before, you want to use TLS SSL encryption for everything. Sorry.
It should be the default.
Talk to Thomas Hampel, why it's not the default. I agree with you, Thomas Hampel agrees with you. There's management that are afraid to push sensible defaults out to customers because
Sensible? Yeah.
Modern.
Yeah, let's talk about the LTP token expiration. It's really important this part because every time an LTP token expires, the user will be presented with the TOTP login form. So make sure you use a sensible time for the LTP token expiration. I don't recommend 960 minutes, well, not for all use cases. The RFC protocol in the RFC specification, it's recommended to use 120 minutes here, as it is a good mixture of security and usability.
But please talk to your users, your security department, and your user experience people. 120 minutes might be a little bit too short in some cases with really stupid users. Sorry.
Okay, now I'll give it back to you again.
It's me again. Oh my. Yes, you have to configure the TOTP login form. What I'm talking about this. So this is our new standard. It's a little bit small, and I'm sorry for that. So basically, you have your username, your password, and then we added a third field to enter the MFA TOTP one-time password. You could also just add the password, the TOTP password to your password, just edit as well, but it's a lot nicer and the users understand what they should put in here. So let's configure this one. Basically, you need a CFP.NSF database. If you don't have one, create one. It's based on the Domino web server configuration 5.NFF, NTF. I'm very sorry. Thomas is not here, unfortunately. I would like to have this renamed in the next release. Let's see. So basically, create a CFP.NSF based on the CFP 5.NTF template.
Martin, consider that requested.
Pardon me?
Consider that requested.
Thank you. And please verify that your ACL is correct. I had a customer case where I spent half a day where they claimed that their login form doesn't work. Because what they did is they said here to write public documents for default and anonymous. And what happened that within 5 minutes, someone on the internet found out that they could change the public documents and override all the values in the configuration of this database, and therefore the login form didn't work. So please make sure that default is read public documents and no access, and also for anonymous, it's only read access and no write access. Yes, Tim?
I set this up yesterday and that is the default now.
It is the default, but some customers change it because we always did it that way. That's why I'm really emphasizing it. I really had a case with it. It's not functional. I just want to stress that you really have a security issue here if you don't check that. Inside the domcfp.nsf, all you have to do is create a mapping and specify the $$ user form MFA formed as the default for all website documents. That's basically all. There's nothing more to it. It's straightforward and simple. Again, Milan was so kind to really pull this out. Just at the target form here, it's in the target database, and you're good to go. It's really simple and straightforward. Okay.
We would be basically finished at this point, but there are some optional settings we can do. Like we can enable TOTP for secure mail operations. That's like using TOTP while encrypting email or signing email messages.
So if you read, sorry, William, if you read secure mail operations in our documentation, that basically means access to encrypted documents, reading, writing, signing.
So it's highly recommended. and really easy thing to do. Just open your Domino policy and in the security settings of the ID vault register, scroll down to the TOTP based ID downloads.
As it's a new feature, always scroll down if you're looking for the TOTP settings.
And there you will see allow TOTP authentication with the ID vault. You can set that to yes. And there's one more important setting, and that's allow transfer authentication with the ID vault. That's basically when you're sure that TOTP is working fine for all devices, for all services. You can disable the basic authentication with the ID vault. Set it to yes at first, verify that everything is working, test it, and then you can go and disable it. There's one more optional feature at this point. It's also security related, and what we can do here is restrict the access of the servers to the ID vault. We can basically create a list of the servers which can access the ID vault. For that, we also need our security policy, and go to the ID vault again, sorry, and allow trusted server ID download. Set that to yes. Afterwards, to create a list of the servers, you will have to open your ID vault, go to the configuration, and under non-IDP authenticated login, you can enter the names of the servers which can access the ID vault. Important notion at this point, Traveler does not support that configuration. If you enable that, it will basically shut the Traveler down from accessing ID vault. There is no SPR at this point for that, but there is a case, and if you need that, just open a case. Our guys are working on that to change the code back on the Traveler server to allow that for the Traveler too.
Milan is chasing product development to get this fixed, so this works for Traveler as well. The thing here is, this is another reason why you want to be on Domino 12. With Domino 12, you do not need an ID file in the mail database anymore. This is a little bit hidden in the documentation, but it's actually true. You don't need an ID file in the mail file anymore. You can, apart from Traveler, which we will get fixed, you don't need it there anymore. So this is really a nice feature. So let's speed it up a little bit.
Yeah. Restart the Domino server or the HTTP task, whatever you do.
9 o'clock in the morning, perfect time.
So, and now, after basically restarting everything, enabling configuration, we will show you a brief demo of a user enabling MFA. So this is how it looks like. User navigates to the web browser, enters his credentials, username and password, and says set up multi-factor authentication. This is only for the user's reference. It will be shown on his prover device together with t-shirt. This is a shared secret, and for the demo sake, we are using an extension in a browser. This is not what you should use. Can't stress that enough. As you can see, browser extension scans the QR code, which is more or less a shared secret, and it's configured, and now the user can verify. Those are the stretch codes.
The nice thing is the user is forced to verify that it actually works for him or her. So one less hassle.
Yeah, it's really nice. So after the configuration is done, the user can enter his credentials together with the MFA token, which he can now look up on his prover device. And here you go. You can access your email. And see all your stretch codes emails to you. Cool. With that, we will continue to the Traveler. Traveler and TOTP, it's fully supported. One additional setting is needed for that. And there are some important things to keep in mind, like Apple iOS app. Verse app for Apple iOS has to be reconfigured and reinstalled for TOTP to work when you enable it on or for a prover to work. It has to be reinstalled, reconfigured to get the change that the TOTP is enabled, at least at the time we created those slides. Android doesn't need that. Yeah.
Is an upgrade from the App Store okay as well, or do I really need to remove?
You need to remove the profile in the application and recreate it.
Yeah.
You can't change the existing configuration. You basically have to reset up the account on the applications. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
if you're not happy about that,
Use Android. Sorry, yeah.
Speed it up.
Yes. Third-party apps are not supported. You can't use the default iOS application for that. You have to use our application. If you want to disable TOTP later on, you have to reinstall applications both of Android or on iOS. You can use self-signed certificates with Traveler. That is possible, but you need to, why would you do that? If you have a specific use case, you could.
Don't ignore that, and please ignore that. Use public certificates issued by Let's Encrypt or something else. Apple will disable support for self-signed certificates at some point in time. So if you're still using that, think about using Let's Encrypt or something else.
Exactly. One notion on TOTP setup: you can't set up TOTP inside of the verse application. You can't set up the prover while using the verse application, so you need a separate application for that. Configure a prover device, then open your verse application, and then you can enter the TOTP. So that must be done elsewhere. Let me briefly show you how it's configured on Traveler. It's identical as on Domino. There's basically just one setting that you have to have set, so that if you work with Traveler 2, and most of you already have that. One more time, keep in mind that the token expiration is really important. At this site, we don't want to present a TOTP login form for your users every 5 minutes on a mobile device. That's a bit counterproductive. And on that, let me show you how it looks on a Traveler. This is a video from an Android emulator. Enter the name of the Traveler server, and then the user gets presented with a TOTP login form. Same as on the web server, so it's the same user experience.
If you see Formula 1 drivers in one of the demos, it's one of his demos.
And with that, user gets access to his emails. But the question arises, how does that look like for existing users? What we have seen is a user configuring an burst application. Well, if you're using Android, this is a user which has configured this application. We will be presented with this form, and yet again, he can enter his credentials.
Is it something you can switch off just for Traveler?
You could.
Yes, you can. You have to create a separate URL for it, with a separate SSL.
Separate website, basically.
Yeah. And really, you kind of don't want to do this anyway for travel people, because it just pisses them off.
Yeah.
And there's no benefit. If someone steals their phone, the MFA is on their phone anyway. So what's the point?
Basically, the second factor shouldn't be on the phone when you're using the web verse.
Right. Because everyone carries their laptop all day long.
Yeah, so that's a philosophical discussion. Yeah. Speed it up.
Yeah. Thank you. So, user workflow. How does he add additional devices? It's really easy. Enter his credentials, and together with the MFA token, and set up multi-factor, add additional account, name of the account, and the process is then basically the same as before. How can he delete a device if it gets stolen or if he wants to sell it or something? Same thing, enter your credentials, go to setup, and here you can select the device and delete it. Request new scratch codes. A user can request new scratch codes. Same thing, enter credentials, go to the setup MFA, if there's an option for that there, was scratch codes. Hit that, say reset, and then the user will get issued with new ones. Admin view. Let's talk about the administration part of it. So, you can check the user's configuration, something goes wrong, there's a TOTP checker for that. Just open the user's personal document and hit TOTP configuration check button. And it will tell you if there is an issue.
You want Domino 12 with a Domino 12 Domino directory template for that.
Yeah.
So,
Hint, hint.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of, what we can say, there are a lot of new features introduced in level 1 and a lot of bugs fixed. So do use latest and greatest, and I think there are 3 or 4 new features with TOTP and this one. Thank you. There's a bug with that. If you do this on Linux, you will always get this error message. For this we have an SPR, so contact us and, or write it down, call the support and tell them that you want it fixed. You can check the user's ID vault configuration in the ID vault. This can be easily done. Just open the ID vault, navigate to the user's document, and then there you can see how many scratch codes are he has and how many devices he has.
So you probably want to create a custom view to get all the users that just use the scratch codes and never use the TOTP. Because if they're down to, they already used 7 scratch codes, there's something wrong with that user.
Yeah. You can reset the TOTP config for a user altogether. Just go to the Domino directory, select the user, and in the ID vault tools, select toolpay and select reset TOTP configuration.
Again, Domino nodes 12 client, Domino 12 on the server required.
There are a few important Node-C settings, but we will not go into detail for the sake of time. Troubleshooting, yeah. Always check your configuration. Most of the time you misspelled something or forgot the setting.
It's basically what we done already showed you. It's the TOTP. It's the TOTP checker again. It's see if everything is configured correctly. It's collecting a fiddle trace. I think you're all familiar with that. It's all HTTP. So always want to have a fiddle trace. Similar to what Milan already showed you. There are debug settings for the nodes INI. The slides will be available, and I think they are all documented, right?
Yeah, they're all documented.
Surprisingly, they're all documented. So, and if not, contact me, and I'm happy to get this fixed. Let's see the ball.
Yeah,
And with that, we're through. Yay! Question? Yes, please.
What about SIMA-based authentication in combination with MFA?
That's out of scope, because for SAML you have an IDP, and how you configure the IDP we don't care. If you do SAML with Domino.
I want to use MFA in combination with SAML-based authentication.
Yeah, but
SAML is only to get rid of the password. But
No.
I want extra security.
you configure that on the IDP, not on Domino. If you configure Domino to use SAML, you're handing out the authentication part to the IDP, to the identity provider.
I understand.
So whatever, if you're using, for example, the Microsoft, what's called ADFS, you have to configure the second factor on ADFS, not on Domino. So if you're doing SAML, you're basically giving away the whole authentication process to the IDP. Right. Other questions? Yes, please.
Do I need ID Vault on every web server?
No, you need ID Vault, but it doesn't have to be on every web server.
It doesn't have to be on the web server at all.
Not at all, no. You can have it in the backend, but they have to be able to communicate.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thank you.
You mentioned, sorry, Keith. Oh,
Back to the one-time token.
yeah.
Is it, can you regenerate it and hand it over? Because you told someone can only use it once.
You use the scratch codes you use once. So can you let me get back to you?
Just a second. You mean the code that's shown in the approval device? Exactly. Okay, so the RSV specifies it can be used only once, and it's regenerated every 30 seconds if you define 30 seconds for a time step.
No. I think what you mean is the QR code that is shown to the user.
No, you mentioned one time to use.
So basically what we are talking about is multi-factor authentication with TOTP, time-based one-time password.
Yeah.
So, but
You had in the beginning you told the emergency.
the scratch codes, the emergency scratch codes.
Oh,
Only one.
Oh,
Only
okay.
one.
The scratch, these are the scratch codes. But thanks for asking, it's always good to clarify. Keith.
Yeah, first thing, I've yet to find a user who knows what scratch codes are or where they are. They just call the help desk and, reset your user. But the important thing people need to remember, especially if you're not using Domino for mailing, using it for apps, a lot of people have internet registered people. Those people are not in the ID vault. I know people understand that, but it's good to remind people, you're going to have to register those people so they get into the ID vault. The registration process, as it is in Domino today, doesn't understand TOTP. So what happens is if you try and register someone, you say, oh, just ignore the fact they exist and just add them. It won't. It's going to create a separate entry. And so you have to plan to work around that.
Yeah, so basically you need a properly registered user with an ID file. And there is, from a licensing
But they don't need
perspective,
a mail file.
they don't need a mail file, but they need an ID file. And from what I understand from licensing, I'm not a salesperson, thankfully.
Yes.
From a licensing perspective, it doesn't make a difference if the user has an ID file or not. It's the same price.
Yes. From licensing. Yes.
Yeah, from licensing. But if you just create a person document, you have to modify your process to be able to support us. Yes. Other questions?
I was just going to back up Keith's point now. Most of our users are web users. I'd love to use this, but it's going to be a huge amount of work to re-register thousands of people.
Yeah.
To do this.
Talk to me after.
Yeah, please, because it's a real booklet.
1,000 people.
Yeah. Keith will chat.
Talk to each other.
We could also talk to Thomas.
Yes, please.
The whole TOTP process is server-based, right?
Yeah.
So we enable the TOTP for one server. If we have more servers that we want to access, we have to set up TOTP for each and every server.
You have to set up the configuration and the security policy, and you have to enable the. Milan, could you go back to the configuration? Yeah. But let me just finish that question. You have to set up the basic configuration for the domain, and you have to enable it for each. If you have multiple web server configurations, then you have to enable it for each web server configuration. If we have a catch-all, then it's enabled for all.
Okay.
I'm fine, it's so easy.
Just
come to us. Don't worry.
Well,
Thank
the
you.
next speaker is already waiting, so thank you very much.
Thank you.